Do you remember that James Corden interview when he invited Harry for a tour around LA? Well, this is the analysis of Harry's dramatic body language change when James FaceTimed Meghan in the middle of the trip. And what is so strange is how quickly Harry's attitude shifted in that instant. So let's find out the reasons why that happened. Hello and welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. The most relevant part of any body language analysis is being able to establish a body language baseline, which means it's the normal way, so to speak, that a person behaves. I usually do this process outside the analysis and just mention them briefly in my videos to make it easier for you, but this time you are going to experience the full process so you can apply it in your daily interactions. It's important to notice the difference between the general body language baseline and the particular baseline to a given situation. In this case, we're going to establish Harry's body language baseline with the first clip. You're going to watch it without audio so you can better focus on Harry's general posture and gestures. Pay special attention to any tension that you could spot in his body. You can see that it's much easier to focus on someone's body language when you are watching the video without sound. Just in case you're interested, my own process is generally the opposite. I prefer to listen to the video without watching it, and I write down the moments when I detect any change in tone, volume, or voice quality. Then I watch it a second time with the video on. That's a very personal approach and one that works good for me, so maybe you could give it a try. So far we've seen Harry more or less relaxed, especially because there is no tension on his neck or shoulders, which is one of the most important areas to spot nervousness or awkwardness. But things change a bit in the next clip, so let's see if you can spot those subtle changes. Remember, we're focusing exclusively in body language at this time. Notice that even if we are just paying attention to this general body language, things get a bit more complicated, because we should also pay attention to his facial expressions, and he's got very relaxed and genuine smiles. Body language also includes walking stride and walking synchronization. Even if Harry and James are not that well synchronized in their walking, I guess that Harry was not absolutely sure of where was this going, Harry's stride was long enough to project certain confidence, something that lately has not been very common in him. So that's great, he looks relaxed and to some point enjoying the experience. But this was more or less like a prank on James' side, because he was taking Harry to the original home of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, prince jokes and all, to see if Harry would be interested in living there. They were about to meet the current owners, and at this point Harry realizes that it's a prank and maybe he will get nervous because of that. But we can't possibly know until we see the clip of their interaction. It's interesting to notice that far from being nervous or awkward, Harry looks quite relaxed. Keep noticing those shoulders and neck at ease, the hands doing illustrator gestures while he's talking, and most important, they are not inside his pockets or trying to protect any part of his torso. He even asks the woman that he needs to use the restroom. Well, his body language when he does it is a bit strange. I don't know if he was being embarrassed or something, but it was a bit odd watching him act like that. But it was nice to see him taking a royal piss in a total stranger's house, and even looking playful and silly at times. And that is something that's part of his personality, or at least it was until a few years ago. Notice how there's a subtle facial expression signal that is raising his eyebrows while talking. Raising the eyebrows can mean surprise if they appear suddenly, but they can also be raised when you're greeting a friend or are having fun. And I think Harry was having real fun until James did the FaceTime call with Meghan. This is the moment where Harry's body language changed, and again, you're going to watch it without sound so you can focus on his posture and gestures. The first thing I noticed when I watched this was not Harry's posture or his facial expressions like we can see in his eyes or anything. The first thing I noticed is how he distances himself from the camera. You see that James tries to include Harry in the frame, but Harry's like 3 steps back. Use your memory, don't cheat, and try to remember the distance at which Harry and James have interacted so far. It's always been a personal space. Nothing like this. And it's absurd because for the very nature of a FaceTime call, it's much easier if you stand close to the camera. So that distancing was the first signal I saw. The second signal is, of course, Harry's lack of gestures because he's crossing his arms. And yes, you've seen all the relevant clips so far and not even once he has crossed his arms. He even did power poses in front of the owner of the house. Don't you find that, at least, suspicious? And by the way, you can refine your observation skills with my 100 body language tips that you can download right in the description of this video. But it's not only the arm crossing and the distancing, because he also does a gesture that hasn't appeared before, that is looking around him. It's like he feels embarrassed at that moment, and that's combined with the nervousness of drifting his body from side to side. Even the first reaction upon starting the call is suspicious, of him looking away from the phone while James is trying to include him in the call. I know that most of the scenes of this kind of shows could be scripted, but even so, it doesn't make any sense for Harry to have such a drastic change of body language when Meghan entered the scene. And when Harry finally walks up to the camera, you can see that this time his shoulders are tense. He shrugs a couple times and he is tilting his head away from the camera, using his eyes to look into it from time to time. This is painful to watch. I don't know which part is worse, but the one where he's got his head down and then turns away, that one could be the winner. I'd love to know what you think in the comments. It's great to have a concrete opportunity with a high quality video so you can compare a stark change in body language. But at the same time, we can't help but feel sorry for Harry. I really don't know what was going through his mind at that moment, but you can see for yourself the incredible difference between just hanging out with James and the moment where Meghan appeared. And we did not hear what they said, so that could be another angle for a second analysis, even more so being this just the first part of that James Corden interview. So stay tuned so you don't miss the next part of this analysis. If you want to support my channel and help me make more videos, all you have to do is like, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my body language analysis and tips. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas and I'll see you soon, my body language buddies.